All right. All right, I think we're ready. I think everyone's here. So nice to see all of you. Goodness, we have so many smiling faces. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Deb Davis. I think all of you have met me. We're with Space Coast Ions, and then we're also under the umbrella of ions.org. How many of you, raise your hand, please, have gone to ions.org? Oh, wonderful, wonderful. All right. I want you to go there again when you have time after the meeting or next week and look at the convention. And we'll talk more about that. I'm going to let Serena talk a little bit about it. Well, let's just do that. Let's let Serena come on up and talk about the IONS convention. Let her, she has a little spill.
I just wanted to let everybody know that the conference is coming up. It's going to be in Chicago, and I had to have this for the dates.
Labor Day weekend.
Labor Day weekend, August 27th through the 31st. And it is the 50th anniversary, and it's called Life After Life, celebrating the golden anniversary of near-death studies. And we have some wonderful keynote speakers, Carolyn Miss, Bruce Grayson, and you all know Dr. Bruce, hopefully, Diane Powell, and Mark Anthony. And I'm going to be speaking as well.
Serena,
I will be
local
presenting.
celebrity.
I will be presenting as well. It's going to be on Friday morning, right after Mark Anthony's keynote.
And see, Mark is from here too.
Yes, Mark is Indian River Beach or something like that, I think. He's a very beautiful guy, very beautiful soul. And so much goes on in the conference, so much. I'll also be doing readings in the healing room. And I just would love to see our group represented there, not just me, but others as well. It is really an amazing, life-changing weekend. It really is.
So, very transformative.
Yes, very transformative. So conference.ions.org, I believe is what it is. So you can just go to ions.org and then click on the conference button. So, yeah.
And then if you can't make it, which in the past, well, Lynn Grace, one of the founders of this organization, she introduced me to that conference, and we had such a great time. And we went to a couple of them. But if you can't go, I haven't been to one by myself. I'd really rather go with someone to Chicago. It would be fun. It'd be a nice trip. But anyway, we'll see Serena there for sure. But if anyone wants to go, let me know, and we can try to plan a trip together. Or I just stay home and I watch it on Zoom. It's all recorded. And if you can't, if you're really busy that weekend, what's nice is once you buy the recording, you can go back and look at it later. Like you can go look at it in September, October, November, December. It's yours to be able to view. And it's so nice to see all those speakers. It's very transformative. And I hope you can do that. I hope you can just get on ions.org every once in a while and see all the resources there. It's amazing. And IONS itself is getting ready to make some big changes in their perspective of things. So look out for that too. It's really going to be interesting. So let me go now to the next thing. I want to make sure that I cover everything. So we want to see Serena there. That's for sure. She's done so much for our group. She's generated the new website for us. I hope you'll go to that. And then she's done now a new email system, and you got your first email from her, and that's going to make it so much easier for us going forward to send out emails to you. And then she's been uploading all of our meetings onto YouTube. 3 different things. She's fully employed with me. The only problem is she's getting no salary. But anyway, we appreciate so much her work and everything she's doing. The one little area that we got worked on is the books, our library of books. And I'm just going to throw this out to you, and you be thinking of ways that we might solve this problem. We now have 6 boxes of books, wonderful books that we've bought over the years, and Lynn donated, and they're just great resources, and you can't find them in the libraries. So they're all over there. There's 5 boxes. We have 6. Janelle and her family have taken the time, and a lot of time, in organizing a list of all those books, and then listed them by author. Okay, and so now they're in the boxes by author. So that should be somewhat easier to find a book maybe, and then put it back in the box and all that. But what we have is kind of a complicated thing. We have 6 heavy boxes, and Mike, my husband, has been hauling them back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I just think he turned another year this year, and it's a lot to ask of him to carry those boxes. And I don't mind storing them at my house. I have the room to store them in the garage, but they're just a lot. And so I was hoping the library would take them and put them on their shelves and have them checked out. But that's not how the library works. They don't do that. They'll take the donated books, but they don't want to, they just give them away. And I don't want them given away to just anyone. I want us to have access to them. And I'd love to have more people access them and have them part of the library, but they don't do that. So I am going to meet with the librarian and see if we can store them in here in this little closet. So be putting out some very positive thoughts. And when I meet with her, she'll say, sure, no problem. Just take your 6 boxes and put them up against the wall. And that might happen. Who knows? There's lots of miracles. Speaking of miracles, our next speaker is coming May 18th. Please mark that down. And he's with us today. His name is Lyman Rowan. And he's had quite a few miracles in his life that he's going to share with you next month. And one of them has to do with being in a fire, a gasoline fire. And someone once said to me real recently, how come there aren't any everyday, modern day miracles? And I said, well, I think there are. There are. There are. You're just not seeing them or hearing about them. But Lyman actually has a modern day miracle. I think it's very similar to John, who wrote Revelations. I don't know if you know this, but I just recently learned that he was they were going to try to put him to death in a vat of oil. And he didn't die. He just stood there. And they pulled him out of that and sent him off to a Greek island, Patmos. And that's where he wrote visions, and he had visions and dreams and wrote Revelations. Which now brings me to, well, I want to do our gift. Let's do our gift real quick. And then I want to talk about our speaker that's going to speak in just a few minutes and about her dreams and visions that she's had. So let's call the lucky number. If you'll get out your little ticket, it's the last 3 numbers. We all need glasses nowadays.
The last 3 numbers are 559.
559. Who's got the lucky number? Yay, Ellen. All right, Ellen, you're getting a little gift by Helga.
And it's not a candle.
And it is not a candle. It is something very unique and special that Helga has donated. And we so appreciate her taking on that role or responsibility in gifting all of you something for attending. And we appreciate you attending. We appreciate you telling people about us. And we hope that you'll continue to come and bring guests with you. Now, here's the other thing that just recently came to mind is about dreams. I have always wanted to sleep deep enough to have dreams. And I was telling our speaker, Claudia, I was telling her that I wish I could dream. And so lately, by putting that out as an intention in my mind, I have literally been having some dreams and talking in them out loud and waking up my husband. Finally, I get to wake him up. Usually it's him waking me up, but I've been having some pretty verbal dreams where I'm talking and I wake myself up. Now, the next step, like Claudia has advised me, is to put a journal next to my bed, bed, and start getting up and writing those things down. But, when we talk about dreams and visions, that is throughout history that we've heard about people having dreams and visions. And even Lynn, my friend, that started with this organization with me, she would tell me that she was writing down all of her dreams and she was really studying them. And I think that is the next step too, is that you start to see a pattern and you start to know that if you see this in your dream, that means this. And so I hope that Claudia and I have so many things in common. I think we're about the same age. We have a lot of differences, don't get me wrong. But what I love about meeting the speakers is I always think to myself, gosh, they're so different from me. And then I read their books or listen to their podcasts and I go, oh, wait, we're kind of alike. And in so many ways, Claudia and I are so alike. We love babies. She had 5 babies. I only had 2, but I had a daycare. So those babies became my babies. Claudia had a very unusual experience, and she'll tell you about that, dying during childbirth. I did not have that. And so you wonder, well, why does one person have one experience and another has another experience? But she has a sister and I have a sister. And she stayed in communication with her sister, even though her sister has transcended. Now, I can pick up the phone. I'm lucky I can call my sister in Colorado and we can plan our next vacation. But she gets to talk to her sister and get just this wonderful feeling of being able to talk with her sister that's transcended. And I would give anything if at some point in time I was able to do that. I don't know that that's what I've been gifted with, but obviously Claudia has. And she loves school. I love school. I was an educator, and she goes to spirit school at night. And I wish I could do that in a way too, but I feel kind of worn out. I need to rest. And like I said, I can't even get into that deep sleep, but Claudia can do that. She also has a grandson, Jude, and I just love the fact that she's so close to him. He is like her, I hate to use the word soulmate, but she can talk with him at such a deep level. And I have that same relationship with my oldest grandson, Xander. I can talk with him about the deepest of things. And although I love all my grandchildren, and she does too, it's so interesting how you can go through life and meet people and just have this profound connection, that soul to soul connection. And that's why we're here, right? Because we all kind of feel that same way. And so I want to introduce Claudia now and let her tell you her wonderful journey that she's had in her life so far. And so welcome, Claudia.
Hi there. I'm so honored to be here. When this first started, I was absolutely terrified. What did I have to say that would be of interest to anybody? And through dream teachings, I was actually thrown in positions of standing before audiences. with the words behind me that said, "You have the courage to stand upon the world stage." And I looked at the faces in the audience, and thank you for turning the camera to your faces, because I feel like every one of you are an important step and person in my life. I feel like I'm meeting new friends, you as seekers, and I don't say that as a fluff. I really sincerely hope that you contact me and that we make friends. That I can ever answer any questions or anything, you can contact me at claudiaedge.com. I love. Sorry, I thought I've got someone walking in the room. This distracting me. Excuse me, please. ClaudiaEdge.com. When I was seeking and lost after my experience, I did not know about IANDS. It was just kind of beginning and getting together. And the first time I attended, I was so amazed at the camaraderie and the love between people. It was in a hotel in Arizona. And I was brought along, the gal that brought me, Deidre DeWitt Maltby, and is an amazing experiencer, has a wonderful book out. But she brought me along, and she knew my personal story that I wouldn't talk about. I didn't talk about my personal story, but because she was involved in IANDS, we wear a lanyard to prove that we've paid our entry fee or whatever. She had put the words experiencer on my lanyard, and I kept my lanyard, I kept turning it back around. I didn't want to expose myself as an experiencer. This is how kind of lost I was in the beginning. So for you, to be here in front of you right now is huge steps for me. And I sincerely appreciate you guys being there and listening to what I have to say. This started in 1984. I was expecting my fifth baby, and I had uncomplicated births. I was just days before I was due, and expecting just another normal birth, but somewhere in the day, I had a contraction. And those of you who have experienced birth, that the contraction and the expansion, and it draws the baby down. This contraction was very hard. It set, and it would not release. There was no pain, but it was uncomfortable. And I just kind of kept about my day. Kids were in school, doing laundry, everything else that a young mother does while the kids are in school. But towards the end of the day, I really felt like this baby might be in jeopardy, because it hadn't moved for hours and hours. It was so tight. And I just had this whispering that I should go to the hospital. It was hard for me to do that, knowing I wasn't in any kind of pain. But this whispering continued until I found myself at the front desk at the nurse's station and saying, I just feel like I need to be checked. I just keep hearing, when you speak spirit talk, and sometimes people's eyes glaze over and they're like, Spirit's telling you to come and be checked out. I just said, I just have this feeling. I just have this nagging feeling, please. And they said, well, you're in a contraction now. Nothing's really happening. They didn't really want to even keep me there, but they suggested I walk around the hospital. And I went back within about 5 minutes, and I said, I'm sorry, I need to be checked out. There's something wrong. And as I went back into the examination room, I had just put a gown on, and graphic here, but blood just was like a bucket just fell. So it wasn't a normal thing happening to me. And I looked down and I looked at the nurse's shoes and the walls and her clothing, my gown, everything was covered. It was kind of like, if you've seen the movie The Shining, the elevator door opens and there's all this blood. Again, I wasn't in any pain. And I'm looking at this enormity of what surrounded us and thought, what's going on? And there was no longer the casual, well, they had called my doctor and said she's here, but nothing's happening. So, go back to bed. It was about 10:30 that evening. And there wasn't any scheduled surgeries or anything happening. And now they've got a code, they're calling code, and people are running around. And I was pushed down on a gurney, and they're calling for someone to help me. And there weren't a lot of doctors or anesthesists or anyone, no preparation for any kind of a surgery. Usually, if they're going to do a C-section, they know ahead of time. They start prepping for things. This was when they finally found an intern in a different department to come in and check me out. He took one look at the blood in the room, and he said, "This woman has 2 minutes left to live." That, again, I'm in no pain, and I'm hearing I'm dying. I'm dying in 2 minutes. It was such a, when you're given a diagnosis of that you will soon be dying, you have months or then a couple of years or whatever, you go through stages of grief, basically, the 5 stages of acceptance. I had to go through those stages in just a matter of a minute. It was kind of like there was, the anger, blah, 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 the shock of the whole thing. And then it was like, well, I lost my dad when I was 16. I adored my dad. And the thought was, I'm going to miss my children and my family. I've, 4 children at home. But I guess I'm going to get to go see my dad. And I let myself feel the excitement of knowing that I was going to be with my dad soon. The experience was really horrific because there was no anesthesiist in the area. And because of the time frame, I was operated on to save my baby without any kind of pain medication at all. My thought was to save my baby, I need to hold still and let the doctor do his thing. And the juxtaposition of the enormity of the pain as your body is basically opened up to the world, all of your inner workings are exposed, and they're rummaging through organs and whatnot to reach the uterus where the baby was. I don't have the kind of words to express that kind of pain, but I was doing it for my child. And when they lifted a little lifeless body from me, it was all I could handle. I popped out of my body. I was done. And what I would like to express is, we're all going to die, and we're all going to die in different ways. Mine, at least my first one, was pretty dramatic, but the death part was no big deal. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't, I want to say there was a naturalness to it, like I had done it before. I heard music down the hall, and I was following the music, and it didn't even dawn on me that I was floating and going through walls to try and reach the music. It was that normal to be in that state that, and when I found myself in the room following the music, and it's funny because the music was the theme song from MASH. And I ended up in the beside a man in bed watching the program, and he had made no reference to my being there. He didn't look at me or anything, and I kind of thought, does this guy even know I'm here? And I even did one of these in front of him, kind of leaned over, and he had showed nothing that I was there. And it was at that moment that it dawned on me that I'm dead. I guess I'm dead. And it was at that moment that I was immediately in another place. Now, I've heard people call it the void, but that name doesn't fit for me because this place was vast. It had an enormity to it that could not be labeled. It was everything and nothing all at the same time. It knew me intimately and it loved me. It loved me beyond what we can feel in this realm. I was perfect within this blackness, and I was swaddled and cradled within it, and I could have stayed there forever. A short time later, I could hear earthwards. Claudia, they were calling my name, Claudia, Claudia, you've got a baby girl and she needs you. You need to come back. And that voice was so itchy, scratchy, I was in this complete quiet, perfection, knowledge. It just, and to hear the earth voice, it was just like, nails on a chalkboard sound in that. It didn't resonate. And I just wanted to push it away. And I wanted to wrap myself even further into the perfectness of the darkness that I was in. And eventually it just wouldn't stop. And eventually I tried to form a word to just say, I'm okay. Just, I'm fine. I'm happy here. To answer that voice would require me to figure out a way to speak with, I don't know if I had a body because I couldn't see anything, but my Claudianess was complete. There was nothing I was missing of my personality and curiosity or anything. So for me to find a way to answer this earth voice, I started trying to think of how I could form a mouth, so to speak, to get the words out. And as I kind of went back into a humanness of voice needed to come out of a mouth kind of thing, I was back in my body. I wasn't too happy about it. I gotta say, there was a lot of commotion and a severe amount of pain. I want to interject here that my baby did live. She had drowned in my blood. This life-saving, life-giving product had taken her life and was a result of my losing mine. So when you guys talked earlier about miracles, an intern that I just had to trust and give my life over to, there was no way that he was going to lose two of his almost first patients, and he saved both of us. So to me, that is such a modern day miracle, to have lived through that. As I got better in the hospital, it took a very long time. What happened, I will interject here, is that during that time of my uterus being so contracted, what was happening was the placenta, and I'm sorry, so many graphic parts here, but blood was entering, but it was not coming out. It was getting, or at least not fast enough, and it was just getting tauter and tauter, harder and harder, fuller and fuller, until it exploded. And that's what happened at the hospital. And that's why Spirit was leading me to the hospital to be checked out, because of that 2-minute time. Even if I had done what the nurse asked and had walked away from that desk and been further down the hospital or en route in the car or anything, there's no way that either one of us would have made it. So the importance of our instincts, the blessings that we are given those instincts, those whisperings, those gut feelings, all of those things are gifts from the other side that we come here with. We come here with this separation because, on the other side, we are all one. We are, we're a team. We're all for one and one for all. And we go through this veil of separateness. Sorry, I kind of lost my place there, but no, I hate when I do that. I'm 73 in a week, so forgive me. This experience, as I got better, and I had been so void of blood that every time the nurse came in to bring another bag of blood, I was like a vampire for it. It was because as I was dying, the room started to slide backwards and get smaller. The walls became fluid and they just kept moving inward, and the top of the room had popped off. So I was doing this going backwards where everything that was happening to me seemed further and further away. And I thought, oh, this is the tunnel that I've heard about in other NDEs. Now, this is in 84. So Dr. Raymond Moody had put a book out, and I was aware of some of NDEs, though I had never heard of one like mine in the darkness. But it was perfect. I was satisfied with my NDE until a researcher came into the room, and they did want to research me because I had died in the hospital. And because I had not had any kind of anesthesia, any kind of pain medication, not so much as an aspirin or caffeine, because I was pregnant. I just didn't take any of those things during my pregnancy. So I was a pretty clean candidate for study. And when the researcher came into the room and asked me, kind of for my story, and I said I had been in this beautiful blackness, there was just a slight swipe of, I took it for negativity of, you were in blackness, because I wasn't in this beautiful garden or seeing my grandmother or my father, whom I had looked forward to seeing. Where was all of that? All of the beautiful stories that you hear from NDEs, I didn't have that beautiful story. And I didn't think anything of it until I saw that kind of negative reaction. And I realized that, as I was saying, I was in blackness, how it could be taken as negative. It wasn't negative. It was perfect. It was beautiful. And it was mine, and it was sacred to me. And I decided I needed to protect it. I stopped talking about it, and I pushed it deeply inside and just wrapped my heart around it and went, I know where I was and what I felt. I don't need to expose it for opinion. And so I kept quiet about it for about 25 years. And they kind of say when the student's ready, or the teacher will come type thing, and these dreams started, and I didn't understand if I was having memories of my near-death experience, or if these were new experiences, and they were coming almost on a nightly basis, and they were so amazing. I would have these experiences like I had been in school, and they'd be labeled, tonight's lesson is, cause and effect, or, description and layering, and of big topics like who is God and why are we here? And I'd wake up and go, I actually know why we're here. That question was answered for me. And I would jump out of bed and write in my journal and secure the dream, everything that I could remember about it. So I have journals and journals of these dreams. And then when they started, as I spoke earlier about standing me in front of audiences, was like, wait a minute, this is my knowledge or my experience. And it's like, no, it's like, this is to be shared. This is to be given. This is your purpose. So I fought it for a long time. Again, at the SCIANDS, I turned my lanyard around. I didn't want anyone to ask about my experience because I didn't have a garden. I had blackness. So these groups that as we're here together, and I know you guys are seekers, or you wouldn't be spending your Sunday afternoons here. We watch podcasts, we read books, we're looking for answers. And it's so important for us to, to find each other and to share together and to ease the others who are, I call them like closet NDEers, that, like me, that just were afraid of coming out of the closet, because it is a scary thing to put your, for one thing, to question your own beliefs. Everything that I grew up with is not exactly, everything that I was taught in Sunday school, and that, it's a hard thing to wake up and go, oh, wait, there's more, or it's a little different than that, or, and it's like you become quite lonely within yourself to know things and not be able to talk about them. I can't talk about them even with my husband. He looks at me like I've grown antlers some nights when I jump out of bed and go, oh my goodness, I can't believe what I just learned last night. And I just see this expression like, please don't tell me about it. So for me to be able to tell you guys about it, it means so much to me. So I express that with sincerity. As I look at your faces, I'm so excited to be here. Where do we start? Why don't we start with some of these big questions? When I woke up, as Deb said earlier, we're similar in a lot of ways, but she was an educator and loved school. I didn't like Earth School. I didn't feel secure in myself. I was always, the test, was I going to fail? It just wasn't my thing. And to come back from this schooling of this, I knew there were others there. I knew I was in a setting of a school, though I didn't see people around me, but I knew they were there. And the teachers are so patient and loving and actually really excited when they throw out a concept and you kind of, you're getting it, and you can feel the enthusiasm as they're drawing you in to, it's like pulling this information from you as it's rolling through and growing within you, and you're getting it, and they're going, come on, yes, keep going. I had never experienced the confidence to say out loud, these concepts. And so one of them, we ask, why don't we just come with all the answers, right? Why is it so mysterious? Why do we go through this veil and then we don't know anything, and we stumble through this life, and we one side is, you have to do your best, and you're being tested, and you can't have any kind of sin or anything else, and it's like it's pounding you this way. And then from what I was learning in spirit school is the fact that we are here to experience, and every experience, even the bad ones, even the a day of the toast burning and the car ran out of gas, and your paycheck didn't come in, and all of the things that could just make a day just a terrible day. Those things, those experiences are, I'll use the word test, but there are no failures in the test. There's not an A or a B or a C. These things are thrown at you for the experience and to see where, kind of a test of where you're at in your ability to let some things go or let some things roll off your back, or accept and show patience, to be having a really bad day and yet open the door for somebody else. Those are the kind of things that matter on the other side. And those things are what are given to us in our life. I just lost the word. Our life screens, when we pass and we're told that we see our life in, all of these little movies, the screens all around me. I mean, what a wonderful concept to be able to, to see yourself at your 5th birthday party and, you're riding a pony and all this. But the things that stick out are either the things that you feel like you could have done better at really stand out. And you're not there in a place of being judged for punishment's sake. You did bad. And so, this is where you're going to end up. Every experience is shown where it could have been better. You could have done something different as a learning tool, as that with that patient loving teaching. And you are your own worst judge, because you will feel the sting of, oh, I could have done better there. I could have stopped and rendered help, or whatever it is. I don't think any of us are out there, murdering people or whatnot, but there are things, that we're going to feel that bad about, but there are things that you might not even realize. And the most beautiful ones are those simple acts of kindness that radiate, you see the ripple effects of your works, your kind words, the compliment that you gave somebody. All of those things are, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Howard Stern. Had in his life review, he had a really horrific NDE, and in his life review, what he thought he would be most proud of are some of the awards and achievements that he had made, the trophies and all of this. It's like a flicker of, okay, great, good for you. But the kindnesses of sitting on a park bench and conversing with someone, this one came to me. This was a personal one where I just felt like this lady needed someone to talk to. And I didn't realize I had saved her life because she was contemplating taking her life that day. And I changed her mind, and I didn't know it. I didn't know she was, but in the life review, I saw, sorry, I get my own goosies here, but I saw, because she lived and had a family and the generations of ripples of that she and her family and generations, because I, with a simple conversation, changed that entire family. Those are the things that matter. Those are our attaboys, because we get attaboys. They're so proud of us, but they're not what would be the word unproud of us for some of the actions that weren't as gracious and giving. They're an opportunity to learn from. And that's why we're here. So as I go to spirit school and they're labeled, I'll give you one cause or description and layering, because I was talking earlier and I went off track about why aren't we given these answers? Why don't we know? Because if we knew this, wouldn't we come down and just be these really perfect people, and we'd be helping everybody and sharing whatever fortune we had and feeding the hungry and doing all of those things. But it wouldn't be it wouldn't be the real experience if we knew the answer, right? So that's why we don't know. And also, as we start to learn these things, like right now, hopefully I'm helping a foundation to your seeking, right? There's things in here that might sound just off the wall, and I would just push them aside. But if there's anything that resonates with you, I would pull it in and keep it as part of the building of the foundation for those answers. So what I get are these great metaphor stories. So here's the teacher. He pushes this pillow to me. Now, it was in the late 50s, early 60s that there were these decorator living room pillows that were, I guess they were kind of Western. It seemed like people had kind of Western-y furniture then. And it was this translucent brown fabric, and it had little tiny pink fuzzy dots all over it. I mean, it was really ugly. It really wasn't a pretty pillow, but I seemed like my friends, there were so many living rooms, they had this particular pillow in their living room. Now I'm in spirit school, and he's pushing this pillow toward me and going, describe this. And I'm going, well, it's brown, you can see through it, it's blah, blah, and he stopped me. And he said, well, what if I don't know what brown is? What if I don't know a shape? What if I don't know that it's round, or can you describe something that I've never seen or had the ability to see? Can you describe it? And, I'm searching for a way to describe this pillow. And he said, describe it as if you were calling your son on the phone and trying to describe what this is like. And I came up with an onion, that it, how it has those layers. There are layers to an onion, and the color gets deeper at the top as it kind of lightens at the bottom. And I was explaining the translucency through these layers. And my teacher was accepting this. He thought that was a good idea, because it was, as we build those layers, we get, that deeper color. We learn more. Our foundation grows and deepens. And so it was really a remarkable class of trying of how hard it is for the other side to tell us things with our limited. We're not dumb in any form, but our capacity to hold such knowledge is really hard. And there's a frustration. They'd love to tell us, but that's a hard one. Speaking of my son, and what Deb and I had talked about earlier is reincarnation. And I want to jump to that because I have it written down here. I could go on and on with other things, but I'm sitting here going, we really wanted to talk about reincarnation. And as I was learning, and in these dream sessions of standing in front of an audience, I had to offer that I didn't have a lot of knowledge or whatnot of reincarnation. And I ask for it. And that's another point I'd like to make is, just as Deb had said earlier, she made an intention to start remembering her dreams. We have an expectation if we want something, and, it's like, please, Heavenly Father, please, God, I want this, but repeat those intentions. Let it be known that you would like those dreams or those answers. And because free will is our most important gift. This journey we're on, there's a purpose to it. And we chose that purpose. We chose our adversities. We're here going through a lot of crap. Everybody that has their own stuff, right? You would think you would think, wow, if I'm really a good person, why am I going through this stuff? But it's because we're such good people that we're given that stuff to go through, because that test is why we're here. I hate using the word test. I'm so sorry I don't have a better word. Okay. Anyway, reincarnation. I'm going to tell you a story of how, one of the stories of how it was cemented to me was through my son, Jesse. I've mentioned him before. He is, he's the kid I can talk spiritual stuff to. And whether it's a friend or neighbor or husband or whoever, it's really nice to share those things and to kind of, build on each other with these experiences. I was in spirit school, and it was called Choosing a Body. And I was with my son, Jesse, whom we are on. It was shown to me we were equal, like I wasn't his mom there. I was, sorry, I struggle for words, because we were at the same place spiritually. We were advanced spiritually to be the same. I see a question.
You were classmates.
What's that?
We're classmates.
We were classmates. Yes, we were soul group classmates. Exactly. If you've, and I don't want to jump too far off course, but you might have heard soul groups or, things like that. Because we do, like attracts like, it's like we're on the same level. And so your soul group is generally those who are right in that same advancement. We're all equal on the other side. We're all special and loved and everything. But as we advance, so how do I put this in earth? There's the hierarchy. I'm failing here I'll think of a better way to present it in a minute, but let me stick with my story of Jesse and I were the same, but I had been slated to be his mother in this particular life. Now, there's a lot of planning in that for our lives here. We've got to get the right grandparents, and it's like, well, are you going to be, in Asia or Europe or the United States? And there's a choosing of a partner or the parents, not for a body, but not for like the prettiest body or tall body or model body or, any of those things. Which body would serve us for the purpose that we're coming down for? Which body is strong enough to face the adversities that we are choosing to come down and face in this test of this life? And I was there because it was Jesse's journey that we were planning. I had been slated to be his mother. And so it was important that whom he chose to be his father, that I could, create a child with, marry and whatnot. There had to be an agreement there. And there are many, many, many agreements as we build the story of this particular journey. It's a complicated thing, but never in our journey here is it the same? Is it so planned that every day, our free will could change the plans entirely? So as Jesse and I stood before, we were kind of on a mezzanine, and there were 3 tables with sheets over them with medallions on a chain. And each medallion was a different colored stone. And as the the guide or whomever was over this would wave his hand over that medallion, that stone would come to life. There would be a movie play in it, and it was giving an idea of what that particular body would look like. There wasn't really a body under the sheet. It was an example, right? Because all of this is metaphor so that I can talk about it. It's not the way they're saying this isn't exactly the way it is on the other side, but here's a way that you can understand it. So here's a way I can present it to you. So as I'm looking at these sheets with the medallions and they're playing, this is what this body capability is. We go to the second. The first one was red. The second one happened to be green. And the third one was black. And they showed, and as we went through the movies, my son chose the black medallion. And not a connotation of any negativity, but that one particularly was going to have a lot of adversity. And my son has been through a lot. And as I woke from this spirit school, it's amazing waking straight out of something. Excuse me. I was saying the words kind of like, oh boy, it's going to be a rocky road. This is going to be quite a life for this one. So anyway, my Jessie is one that I can talk to about these things. And so it opened a door, excuse me one sec, for thinking about reincarnation. Because I've been taught, as maybe most of us are, that we get this one life, right? YOLO, you only live once. And it was a completely different concept to think, the way I kind of figured was, well, if there was a plane that went down and some, there were innocents or whatnot, that maybe they got to have another chance if they chose. But there'd be this from the church that I was in, would be like, but you could also go, do something wrong and end up on the wrong side of heaven, right? So, do you want another chance? Do you want to come back again? And I fought this because I was learning that there is reincarnation and that it's important and it's a gift. It's a wonderful gift from God to be able to have this opportunity to build on our own knowledge. I just want to insert something about who we are with God, but I'm going to write it down and try to come back to it in a minute. In fact, I'm going to read this to you from a friend of mine. It's a little passage in my Lessons from the Edge. It's my second book, and it's by Rod McCollum Jr. And it's entitled, "This is the Life. This is the next one that you wanted to do." He says, "Please excuse my language. All of the shit, the heartache, the pain, the envy, the confusion, the anxiety, the doubt, the fear. Mark my words. You will miss all of it. Yes, of course you'll miss sunsets and sunrises, babies, flowers, the sun. That's obvious. And you think you're going to be happy to be rid of all the difficult parts of your journey here. But you are wrong. You will absolutely miss all of the crap, all of the spice and flavor that is part of life. Because you see the polarity. One has the good and bad, the sweet and sour, but all of it is the journey, and you will miss all of it. You long to be in form again and again and again. See, once you leave here, there is no pain, there is no suffering, there is no doubt, no confusion. You stop and go, oh wow, look how much I got caught up in all that drama. Look at how I got worried and felt unsure. Ha ha ha. I didn't know what was going on then. If I only knew. Oh yeah, I guess I wouldn't have been the same experience if I knew what was going on. Ah, now I see. Now I understand. It's all so beautiful. It's so perfect. That was amazing. I thought it was so real. Well, that life was an interesting experience. I wonder what I want to do next. What's the next adventure I can try? And so for the perspective is clear. It's the highest perspective of knowing all that's happening is what you wanted to experience. And so the question always ends up being the same. What do you want to do next? this life you have right now is the next one that you wanted to do. I love that. So excuse me for just reading it, but it's so special that I didn't want to miss a word. Put that. So here I am learning the reality of reincarnation. And my best teacher happened to be the dad that I told you was on the other side from when I was 16 years old, that I missed terribly. And one night I had a dream that a note, an envelope note, came and dropped right into my hands, just kind of doing a dramatic fall from the sky. And I'm holding this note in this most perfect printed and firm stocked paper. It was just beautiful, but it said that I'm being invited to meet with my father. Oh my goodness. Of course, there was a specific address and date and time. And I knew that if I was going to make it to be where this was, I just threw a couple things in the car. And now, again, this is a metaphor, okay? These are my stories. So this is in dream. And I'm jumping in the car and I'm driving almost straight through to get to a small Western town. And the few times that I stopped my car to put gas in, I was so elated. I'm going to go meet my dad. I'm going to meet my dad. And people would be like, oh, well, happy for you, kind of thing. And it wasn't until I pulled up, as I was driving down this gravel road in a Midwestern town with lots of farmland and houses that kind of were on a little bit of a rise. And I realized, it's like, as I stopped my car, I thought, my dad's here. Why would he be my excitement exceeded my intelligence, so to speak, where I hadn't put those things together before. I was just going to go wherever he sent me. And now I'm in this strange town in a strange state. And now I have, why am I here? And I started to walk up the gravel driveway, and I saw a young man walking back and forth from his house to his truck, to his house to his truck, and he was throwing things in the back of his truck. He was wearing an army uniform, and he was throwing a duffel bag, and he put his shoes all in the back of the truck. And I walked up to the back of the truck where he was busy kind of rummaging through, and he didn't really even turn around to look at me. Now here I am, this stranger, and I'm standing at the truck bed at him as a stranger, and I'm going, where's my dad? I was so confused. And he wasn't speaking to me. He was kind of almost ignoring me. And I thought, why have I made this trip? And, is this huge joke been pulled on me? And as I waited, there became I could hear not his lips move, not him speaking to me, but it was like a soul to soul thing. And he told me that he was my father. Sorry, touches me every time. He was my father. And he was in a different incarnation now. I couldn't believe that this man that I loved so much had been on the planet for like 20 plus years, breathing the same air as me. He's here, and he hadn't contacted me or anything, but he wasn't my dad. He was in a whole nother incarnation. Again, the lesson of he's in a different place. He didn't recognize me. And I was trying to put the pieces together of how this worked and how this person could be my dad. He didn't look like my dad. He had none of the same features. My dad was really, really handsome man, jet black hair, And this fellow he was okay looking. He had a lot of teeth and they were kind of pointy. I don't know. He was just he just wasn't handsome. And his hair was buzzed, because he was in the Army. And what he was expressing to me was he needed, because my grief for my dad was so was holding him back. He was going to war, and he needed all of his focus to be in that on the fight that he was going to fight. And that I was kind of being asked to let go, not of him, but of my grief and loss of him. He told me that we were bound by our love for each other for eternity, that we would never lose each other, but he needed his energy for what he was about to do. And as I was trying to understand that this man that didn't look anything like my dad was my dad, and his buzzed hair had almost like a pyramid, but it was kind of a lopsided pyramid with some kind of a squiggle through it. It was a really weird tattoo at the top of his head. And I didn't know how to end our, really not even a conversation, but to turn around and go in my confusion. And I didn't know what to do because he didn't know me, and I didn't know my whole world of who my dad was and who I was to my dad, and everything just felt like it was falling all around me. And I stood there, I was shaking, and I started to say goodbye to him, but I felt compelled to touch his tattoo. And when I did, it was an essence of him that's just swirled all around me. Like I knew it was my dad, what I was feeling, and it drew the essence of me, that we danced together, these two essences of our endless binding to each other. And then he brought me to I guess a tunnel. I would say like a stack of the old 45 records with the big hole in the middle. I was at that tunnel, and I was not afraid anymore. I let myself fall into this hole. And every one of those 45 records, as I fell, was a life that I had lived with him in different genres, in different, countries. Some lives we had together, some we did not. But I saw fragments of as I fell, every single life in that 45 record that was recorded there. And I had a glimpse of every one of them. And by the time I had finished falling through this tunnel, the security in knowing reincarnation was so real. I'm 100%. I have no doubts. Sorry. They're really personal experiences. So my face goes red. I'm hot. I'm crying. And I know I've been talking nonstop. Deb, have you got any questions? Have I left holes? There's so much I want to talk about, but have you got any particular things you'd like to ask me or that I haven't touched on right here?
I would like to give others a chance to ask you some questions, if they have some, because this gives us about 20 minutes to talk with you.
Good. I stopped at a good time. Okay.
And I'm glad you shared that part with us. I know it takes a lot of courage to be able to say these things to us. And some of us, as I've told people, some of it may resonate with you and you just have to absorb it, maybe go home and think about it, and it may not make any sense to you right now, but later it might. So I appreciate your courage in telling us your stories, and it is hard to articulate those, I know, but we appreciate the books for sure. That makes it easier for us to go now back to your books and read some of these that you've shared. Anyone else have a question for Claudia, or want to share one of your dreams or visions that you might have had? Okay.
While you're, oh, sorry.
Yes.
I'm a medium and I do a lot of work with the Akashic records to help people clear things from past lives and attachments from past lives. And what you just said and described about your experience with your father and that stack of records was actually, I thought, very profound. Because it's difficult to explain to somebody that their behavior in this life is related to something from a long time ago. And it's because they've never let go of that attachment with another soul. And you have described it so perfectly and it's so clearly. And I really appreciate that. And I appreciate that you're sharing that experience.
Thank you. It reminds me of, I'll tell you a couple of the lives that I was able to, as I felt they were glimpses, but then I started having the dreams where I could experience a full life. And I've written all of the lives in these books. One of them that comes to mind, I was a little girl in the Dust Bowl area time in Kansas. I was just barely 2 years old. And it was such a horrible time to be alive, really. And the discomfort of everything. And I was dying. No matter how clean they tried to keep the house, just to take a nap, by the time you woke up, the bed would be full of dust and whatnot. And I was retaining all of that in my lungs. And I would cry incessantly because I didn't understand why I coughed all the time. I coughed and coughed. And I would hold on to my mother's skirt. And that feeling of soft material is something that I still carry with me. I keep a little blankie or something nearby to fall asleep or comfort with, and I rub that little piece of blanket. Is something that I brought back from little Maddie in the Dust Bowl area. That's something that just came to mind. I had a story of living in a king's court, and I was not a king or anything, but I was part of the king's court, and I was really fat too, really fat. And my hurt of my own self by allowing, I owned some land and I had a family living in one of my properties, and her husband was murdered and they had 2 small children. And my sister, who was just always wanting more, she was making me push this widow out of her home. And they were without a husband to, take care of them in those days. It was like she was going to be forced to live on the streets and probably starve. And I let my sister talk me into pushing those people out of their home. And the regret and the trying to fill myself up with food to fill the empty that I had created within myself for my actions, those kind of lives were coming up. And what a huge lesson in, charity and compassion that life gave me, that I really saw the progression of my soul's advancement through those type of experiences. So Why we don't all get dreams of our past lives, I don't know. I know that there are many more that I've seen that I haven't dreamed about, but there's at least 10 really profound ones in the books that that have kind of led me to where I'm. It's funny, long before I was admitting my NDE, I'd walk through, I was in Park City one time, and a seer or something, she just said, I read palms or whatever, but she goes, you're a really old soul. I bet I'd heard that 10 times throughout my life. You're a really old soul. And I was like, yeah. And my husband is 8 years younger than me. And I'd be like, yeah, I know I'm an old soul. He's younger than me. And she'd be like, no, yeah, he is a really young soul, but you are a really old soul. And it kind of hit me as I started dreaming of these lives. I've been around a while for sure. So maybe that's the time right now to use some of those experiences. And I am sure you all have those experiences. Ask for them, ask for the dreams.
So Claudia, this is a question I have. So if do we leave part of our soul in a different realm, and then another part comes here to live out these experiences that we've basically contracted to live out?
Yes, thank you for asking that, because that's super important. Our higher self, you've probably heard that term before. I mean, we are magnificent beings. Our souls are magnanimous, beautiful, knowledgeable. And yes, we are sent out. The metaphor I'll use, because it was given me, was like on top of a swimming pool. There were all of these diving boards. There were like 8 diving boards, and the center of that was expressed as the higher self. And then there were all me's in swimming suits, swimming caps, swimming suits. And we were all jumping off the diving board. They were all me's jumping off, and offshoots of the higher self. So these metaphors make it so much easier for me to talk about, to explain. And I hope that helps.
So I just want to, if I may, because I've heard this debate between the people that the soul, one side is saying that the soul exists in multiple dimensions at one time. And then there's another group that says, no, you're only incarnated once. But from what you described, it sounds like the soul, the higher self is in one place, but there are 8 other portions of the soul in different.
And though I don't understand in the human side of it, the linear and time, how they say, time is irrelevant, that things are all happening at the same time. It's a concept that can just make your brain explode, because we live in a linear, you guys arrived 2 hours ago and now you're going home. I mean, so how do we take that linear out of it? It's a hard concept to think that Maddie is in a dimension in the Dust Bowl area, and Hirnik is in a king's court over here, and they're all happening at the same time. So this is what I've heard. I would just say that there are many things happening all at the same time, and I have no way of explaining. Maybe that's the next spirit school, so I can explain it better.
Well, so I just want to also bring this up. I always wondered as a child, when they would talk in church about how God was God, and he was Jesus, and he was the Holy Spirit. How that didn't make sense to me. I didn't get it, that he was all one, but he is really 3 separate. So now, fast forward 50 years from that time, maybe more, 60 years from that time. Now I am sort of understanding that God could have reincarnated as Jesus, and then Jesus left the Holy Spirit part of him here. And that's why we have the Holy Spirit all around us. Now, so is that possible? That's something that we could entertain, and that's what God's been trying to show us all along, and then Jesus died, and he was raised, and he came back to earth and walked, and he's showing us that he came back, reincarnated as himself again, so he could be recognized by the apostle. That's my question, I guess.
That's a really that's a really big one, right? Right.
Yeah.
And I'm no expert on it. So please, if I say something that is contrary to your beliefs, I'm not an expert on every religion, not even on the one that I was raised in. I can speak to what I have been shown. And I'll give you another metaphor for who we are with God. I love it, but it's silly, but I was shown this beautiful purse, beautiful with the little, the golden top, like a coin purse that you click, and it was bejeweled and beaded and pearlized and golden thread. And it was a perfect work of art. And it was a representation of God. And it started ripping off pieces of itself, each a jagged rip. Some had a piece of golden thread, some had one pearl attached to the thread, or some still had some of the beading or the precious or semi-precious stones attached. But every piece lying there on the ground around this representation of God was individualized. They were us. We are a piece of God. We have heard we are shards of God. We are what was shown to me is that we were each created uniquely from God, and we were created to be in service to God, who is always expanding knowledge. There will be no stop to learning. Someone asked the other day, what do we do on the other side? We go to school, we learn, we expand, we rise. There is no stopping of what can be learned. And we come in service to God. We were created to come and experience this in the physical. We are a physical form of God. And when we die and we bring our experience back to God, it's assimilated and by God and by all of those in the other realm. They'll set up an experience that we can choose to have, like really terrible parents. Oh my goodness, what a horrible childhood. And one will grow up to be a leader of a gang and murder people. And the other, with the terrible parents, I had a really horrible life, and I don't ever want to have my children exposed to that. And they come to be a wonderful father. And the other one will open a care center or a homeless shelter or something, each with kind of the building blocks were the same, but that individual did different things with the adversities that they were given. And those are really fascinating and important for God's knowledge, all knowing, and we choose some of these adversities because these are things that God is interested in learning from. And we raise our hand and we volunteer. I know I'm not answering your question about Jesus, because I don't have all of the answers about it, I know, I don't share this. But I have met with Jesus, and he is as wonderful as you can imagine. He, I guess I didn't ask him if he was the Son of God, or I know him as an older brother. Sorry, he's my older brother. He's our older brother. And with all that entails of where you want to crawl into his lap and just hear his voice. He loves us so much. And when I saw him, I've often said that when I see Jesus, when I die and I get to see Jesus, that I want to just touch the hem of his garment. I used to say that quite a bit. And in my dream experience, I got to meet him, and I dropped to my knees, and he wouldn't allow it. He put out his hand and he rose me off my knees and said, I do not wish to be worshiped. I wish for you to be my friend and to walk beside me and help teach. I do not wish to be worshiped this way. So that's my personal experience with Jesus. And I think all of you are going to be teaching in your own way as you are growing in and seeking. We're all doing that, and we're all in service, and we're important to God as Jesus. I hope that kind of answers your question. Great. Whew.
Don't know all the answers, really, I guess. And
Yeah.
it really doesn't matter so much as that we do know that we're from one God. I guess that.
Mm-hmm.
And he loves all of his children, as Pope Francis said, and he was a very good servant of God. So, with that, is there anyone else that has a question or wants to make a comment? This got kind of deep, didn't it? We love that, but
Just another.
yeah, go ahead.
And I'll keep it brief. The way you described, Claudia, how we're here to experience and share that information back to God. I just want everybody to know, in my experience in using the Akashic records and studying them, this happens every day. This exchange, we receive information from the Akashic records. Everything we experience in our lifetime, every minute little thing, immediately gets put back up into the universe in the Akashic records for others to be able to learn from.
Yes. And so in that regard, we're teachers, every one of us, because we are teaching, they are watching, we are a bridge to the other side. Our experience matters. Everything we do matters.
There's someone, I think, Nancy, did you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
First of all, Claudia, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us. I deeply appreciate hearing your experience and what it takes for you to get up on the camera and do this. I appreciate it. And I definitely appreciate what you just said about Jesus not wanting to be worshiped and just wants a love relationship with us. I've felt that for years. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say it. So that was validating. My question is, I have listened to a lot of NDEs and other thought leaders in the spiritual realm lately, or for quite a few months now, and there seemed to be a theme about human consciousness evolving, and that's going to involve a lot of global changes, some of which may not be pleasant, be difficult. And I'm just wondering, do you have any experiences of that in your either NDE or spirit school? And what would you, if so, how would you recommend that we engage with that in a positive way.
You know, I've seen the fall of our government. I'm not placing names or anything, but I have seen money will not be, we will be more in a barter type system. We will also be reading each other's auras. Basically, we will know ahead of time. We'll be drawn to those particular colors or light, and we will be able to see someone telling lies or, a forked tongue type thing immediately. There'll be a lot of changes like that. It's going to be ugly. It's for a while. And I hear it's coming. I've also seen a flash. I was going to say solar flash. Some type of flash is going to come that will. It's not that we're all going to get instant enlightenment, but it is going to be a kind of an accounting of where we're at spiritually and whatnot. It's coming. There will be no hiding from God, from that light, from the light of God. And there's no, you can't fake it, kind of thing. You're, and when I say that, I don't mean it that others will be punished or go to hell or anything like that. It just means there are many that are going to rise faster than others, and there may be an opportunity for, I have seen what they call a new earth, where, those who aren't quite there yet still get to go through their lives and their experiences and have the opportunities to rise. Many will pass, but passing, as we know, it's just passing into the next realm, and they'll start over in that rise. So my best advice is not become a hoarder and food supply and all that stuff. It's coming. My biggest thing is with my grandchildren that I tell everybody water. When the grids go down and we can't turn on the tap and get water, I would keep some water storage. I think we're all going to be uncomfortable for a few days. It could be longer, but I've heard so many different things, and my own too. I would say, hold on to yourselves, hold on to what you know. Just be strong. You're there as a torch of light for God. I just feel, because all of you, as you are seeking, are helping and will be helping in that time to be the source of light for your neighbors who don't understand what's happening, and you'll be the one that will be able to offer assistance and help. That's why we're all spread all over the world. We're torches for God, basically.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
That encouragement gave me chills. Anyone else have a question or comment? Mike? Just kidding. All right, Claudia, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We've got almost all your books are gone, but I bet you.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Let me know, as an author, reviews help. If you like it, leave me a review. Contact me. Say hi. Facebook friend me. I would love to stay in touch with you. I just feel so much special feeling from all of you, and I so appreciate you being here. Thank you.
What is your email address? You care to share?
You can get
ClaudiaEdge.com, and it has a message there. You can see my other podcasts and all that. So awesome. Thank you so much.